Welcome, everybody. I am Therese Fortin Barnes. I'm an environmental toxins health coach and the head guru at the Green Living Gurus. And I'm very thankful you are joining us today on this broadcast. I have a special guest on today's show, Dr. Amie Hornaman, the thyroid fixer. Fix your thyroid, fix your hormones, fix your life. You might hear from your doctor that your thyroid is normal. Why is weight loss impossible with an optimized thyroid? Maybe your medication isn't working. Maybe it's other things you are doing wrong. Why is weight loss impossible without an optimized thyroid? These are some of the topics we are going to cover today with Dr. Amie, and she is a leading certified functional medicine expert on a mission to optimize thyroid patients all around the world and give them their lives back using scientific elements of nutrition and functional medicine. After her own experience of insufferable symptoms, misdiagnoses, and improper treatment, Amie set out to help others who she knew were going through the same set of frustrations and who were on the same medical roller coaster. She consults people around the world by way of telehealth, virtual appointments, beginning with in-depth 90-minute consultations addressing everything from lab results to nutrition to lifestyle. She specializes in clinically investigating underlying factors of chronic disease, customizing health programs for thyroid issues, autoimmune conditions, hormonal dysfunctions, digestive disorders, and brain problems. The focus on optimizing thyroid function and thus optimizing her patients. Amie looks at each person as an individual and not just a lab value, which is so critical. She examines all factors that tie into thyroid dysfunction and thyroid symptoms and treats a person from the top to the bottom to give them their lives back. Amie is based just down the road from me. I'm in Buffalo, she's in Erie, PA, and she was born and raised there. But her patients span the globe, including multiple cities and states around the US, UK, and Australia.
Yep.
So over half of the women, I know this is a long one, Amie, but I loved it all, so I wanted to get it all in. Over half of the women she counsels have undiagnosed or mistreated hypothyroidism.
Yep.
And hormones go, RA, and weight comes on, fatigue persists, frustration, depression. I hear it all the time from friends. So you don't have to live like this. And she specializes in finding and treating the thyroid. So Amie, welcome. I loved your motto that I have to read from your website. This is her motto on her website. I am not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. She'll hold your hand and cheer you on, but she won't tell you that it's okay to eat bread and drink wine every day. Right. So welcome.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful introduction. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yay.
So here we are. So you had your own problems with your thyroid. And so now you are helping others, obviously. So how did you find, I mean, that's quite a journey.
Yeah. No, it was really interesting. So this is going back probably 25 years, 27 years, not to date myself, but I was competing in figure competitions and I was doing fitness modeling at the time as well. And I had done many of them. I had done the diet down before, the strict diet, the going to the gym twice a day. And I come from a family of type 2 diabetics and obesity. So and I'm 5'2". So naturally I'm not walking around like a stick figure. It's not easy for me wasn't easy for me to diet down. So I would have to be very, very strict. And I knew how my body would respond and I knew how strict I had to be. And I was doing that. I mean, I was on maybe my 10th show at the time. So I was in show prep mode. Like I said, strict diet, going to the gym. And I was gaining weight instead of losing. And I knew biologically, this shouldn't be happening. So I went to 6 different doctors, and this is my message to everyone. You know your body. You know when something's wrong. You know when something's off. You know when it's reacting, how it shouldn't be reacting. So I went to 6 different doctors, and they all told me you are normal, air quotes, normal. You're fine. You're within normal limits. You're normal. Just eat less and exercise more. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me, right? Because if I eat less and exercise more, I'm going to die. And, unfortunately, they didn't know about adrenals, apparently. The conventional medicine system didn't realize that if I actually did that, I would tank my adrenals because there'd be nothing left. So the seventh doctor finally diagnosed me. So I got, the diagnosis. Yeah, I have hypothyroidism. There's an answer. So now I'm going to take a pill and get all better. And now I'll feel that I'll get my energy back. My hair will grow back. I'll lose some weight. Awesome. And I was, of course, put on Synthroid, T4 only, Levo, Synthroid. And that's what so many of my patients are on when they first come to see me. And T4 only does not work, period. Maybe one in every, 1,000 patients that I see, they'll be like, yeah, T4 is okay. I'm doing good. 99% of the time it doesn't work. So I go back to this doctor. Now, meanwhile, I'm not in the functional medicine space at all at this time. So I do my own research, like, us suffering people do. We start, researching on our own. And I go back to her and I say, there's this thing called T3 that I'm hearing is pretty cool. It works really well with T4. Can we try it? She goes, no, I don't do that. And so many of my patients now that come to see me, their doctor says the same thing. No, I'm sorry, I don't do that. It will cause you to have a heart attack. And I roll my eyes and I say, okay, well, then I'm going to find someone who does. So I found my now mentor, functional medicine doctor, naturopath. He was also a pharmacist. So he blended everything together, the conventional world, the functional world. And he looked at everyone, not as a lab value, but as a real person, took into account my symptoms, tested everything. And he's the one that really just turned my life around with the thyroid. And I, thought at the time, I was down in Pittsburgh, PA at the time, booming city, UPMC, Hillman Cancer Center, the whole deal. And I should have received really good medical advice, but I didn't. So I thought, well, if I'm frustrated and suffering, other people are too. And I need to do something about this and give them the answers that I was so desperately searching for. I just want to be myself again. I was at that point, I wasn't even looking to be like, get on stage. I just want to be myself again. And that's what brought me down this path of becoming a doctor, doing functional medicine, specializing in the thyroid, because I got to fix people. Got to fix people.
I love it. I love it. So awesome. And it's having your own experience through this whole process even adds more to your experience and what you can give to other people because you experienced it.
Yep.
And I saw some of your pictures of you doing the weightlifting. I mean, your body was probably still in perfect shape, but they were pretty amazing pictures, just so you know, I saw on your website.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, that's when I was, when things were working.
Right.
And when I got things working again, then my body would respond correctly. But yeah. I got to tell you, I stopped weighing after I gained 20 pounds. I stopped weighing myself. So it could have been more. Wow. I don't know. Yeah.
So, and you've always been into keeping your body healthy and in shape. So this was probably even more perplexing to you.
Definitely. Yes.
So lab results, people get their lab results, especially people that, now they're new to it and they're very, they're confusing to interpret. I would imagine that you help people interpret these lab results.
Yeah. So it really, with the thyroid, it starts with getting all the proper labs. So when you go to your conventional doc right now, you go to your PCP and you say, hey doc, I heard this thing about the thyroid. Can we test my thyroid? You are going to get your TSH done, which is thyroid stimulating hormone. We can talk more about that if you want. Thyroid stimulating hormone and T4 or free T4. You'll get those two done for sure. And that does not give us an answer whatsoever. You need to have free T3 done because T3 is the active thyroid hormone. There's no sense in testing the inactive because the inactive isn't going to give you a metabolism, isn't going to help you lose weight, isn't going to grow your hair, isn't going to put you in a better mood. It's just going to sit there as like storage, just sit there in storage. So we need to test the active thyroid hormone T3. Then we need to test reverse T3, which is the anti-thyroid hormone. I always say it's like the bouncer at a club. So you have reverse T3 kind of outside the club doors with his arms crossed going, you can't get in, you can't get in either. And so the reverse T3 being high is not good because it will block T3, the good guy, from getting into your cell. And then we have to test for the antibodies. So many people are walking around with Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's is the autoimmune form of hypothyroidism. 95% of all hypothyroidism is Hashimoto's, but doctors aren't testing it, or they'll test one. They'll test one antibody. Guess what? There's two. There's thyroid peroxidase and there's thyroglobulin. So we have to test both of those to get the full picture. And then, of course, from there, we can test the other things that are contributing. Because the thyroid is the master gland, you're going to get things like wacky hormones, your estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, all over the place. You're going to have insulin resistance. You might have leptin resistance. You might have an underlying infection like Epstein-Barr virus or Lyme. So there's other tests that we can do. But my goodness, we got to start with the full thyroid panel to get the picture of that, to really know what's going on.
Interesting. Okay, and then how do you optimize the thyroid once you look at all these lab results? How do you actually optimize it?
So it really is individualized, but basically you sit down with a person, you look at all of their symptoms, and you look at all those other factors that are going on along with the thyroid problem. So let's say we sit down, we see you have a thyroid problem, right? We see you have, I'm going to say the word low, but it means less than optimal, because that's the other piece of the puzzle, is we're looking at your lab values from a functional medicine optimal point of view. Where are you going to feel your best? Not just normal, not just within normal limits, WNL, you're fine, you're normal. We want to look at, are you optimal? Because if you're not optimal, you're going to feel like crap. So are you optimal? We look at each of those lab markers and say, are you optimal? We pair that up with your symptoms, and then we go, okay, here's what we have to do. So everyone's different. If it's a patient that comes to me and they're on T4 only, then we have to make sure that they're converting. We have to check that reverse T3. Maybe we do a medication change since T4 only doesn't work. If it's someone who is undiagnosed and we're just now seeing like, hey, you have a thyroid problem or you have Hashimoto's, then we just start that treatment process. So when it comes to medication, many people out there are kind of anti-med. Functional medicine is not anti-medication. We're anti-too much medication and used in the wrong places. So we get to the root cause of the problem. And I like to think of thyroid medication as thyroid hormone replacement therapy, because you're replacing hormones that are no longer being properly made by your body. So a lot of times medication is necessary here because we want to give you that quick win. We want you to feel better. We want you to get your life back and feel like yourself again. So sometimes medication is utilized, and then we work on those other factors. We bring down insulin because insulin is so inflammatory and will just make you gain weight. We look at your hormones and balance those out. We look at heavy metal toxicity. We look at your environment like you do. And environmental toxins play a huge role. They are endocrine disruptors. They will disrupt the whole endocrine system. So we have to look at your environment and really chip away at everything. And you can speak more on this, Trace, but just everything that's in your home. What do you put on your body? Are you using those stupid Glade plugins? So we have to kind of work on everything while we're nurturing and loving on your thyroid and giving you those hormones back.
I love that. And, touching on the environmental toxins and the endocrine disruptors and what havoc they are wrecking in our bodies and what they could be doing, and on all these chemicals and how they all could be interacting with one another, and then throw in these medicines that people are taking in our bodies. They're meant to ward off quite a bit, but these days I just feel like the toxins are just overloading everybody. And I love that you touched on that. So thank you for bringing that up. It's a big factor in everybody's health, whether it's thyroid, cancer, diabetes, everything. So I'm a huge advocate of really looking at the entire environment, which is basically what you are doing, which is great. You're not just given a medication for a symptom. You're looking at the root cause, and the root cause is so key here.
Right.
So I hear all the time about gaining weight from friends that they've put on weight, and it's their thyroid medicine, and they've got to increase the dosage or go on something different. And I just feel like they could use your services. And what do you tell me? Do you have? Is it one-on-one? Is it group programs? What do you have to offer?
Right now I'm doing one-on-one because I love working with the individual. Everyone's so unique. Maybe eventually I'll graduate to a group program, but everyone is so unique, and I love just getting to know the person. And I mean, we spend 90 minutes together the first session. I mean, I almost overload the patient with too much information, but I want to get things in place in that first meeting so that they are good to go. We all want that quick win. That's what I was hoping for when I was given my T4 medication, right? Like, woo, quick win. No, it wasn't. And you really have to do both and. So there's the nutrition component. If you're eating at McDonald's and I give you thyroid medication, start addressing other issues like hormones and insulin and whatnot, not going to work. McDonald's is going to win. But the same thing, you could also clean up your diet. You could be perfect, just like I was, right? Getting on stage, doing the fitness modeling, I was perfect. But if you have a thyroid problem that isn't being treated right and you're on the wrong medication, it's not going to work. So you have to do everything together. So yeah, I love doing the one-on-one. That way I can do the personalized nutrition program, really kind of look at, okay, what is your lifestyle? What are you eating? Also addressing the medication piece, the hormone piece, supplements, insulin, that whole, everything, just everything. And we chip away at, let's say, the mindset. I have a mindset coach that's part of my team. I have a nurse practitioner that's part of my team. So we chip away at other factors as we move along. But that first meeting, that first one-on-one meeting is intense. But listen, once you leave, you are armed and equipped for a better life, and it will happen.
And then is this an ongoing process that they work with you, and after the 90-minute?
Oh yeah. Yep. I do 3 and 6 month journeys because you're not going to get better in a month. You're going to see changes in a month, but you're not going to be 100% better in a month, especially if we are doing medication changes and getting you to that optimal level and addressing all the other factors. So when you start addressing the thyroid, I tell people, I made a video for my patients too. I call it your metabolism is like a wet pile of leaves, because most thyroid patients have the weight gain or the inability to lose weight issue. And then second to that would be the energy, like just complete fatigue, no energy whatsoever. So I made that analogy because I always say, listen, when we first start you out, this is not like a before and after on Instagram. This is not a quick fix. It's not a fad diet. This is a process of literally your metabolism, your whole body is functioning in a low, sluggish, like wet leaf state. It's just blah, it's just there. So how are you going to light a pile of wet leaves? Not going to be easy. You got to dry them out first. You got to wait for them to dry out first. You got to start some kindling. You got to throw some newspaper in there. Then you got to light the fire and let it burn. It's a process. It's a journey to get someone going again. So usually we start to see results easily in the first month, and then we have to chip away until you can get to that point. My goal is to get patients to a point where they're like, hey, I'm good. Like I talked to a patient yesterday. She's like, I am great. I'm doing fine. My energy's back. I lost weight. My hair is growing. She sent me a picture of her hair. Everything is fine. And she's ready to go on her own now. She has completed the journey and she's good to go. My goal is not to keep people on forever. My goal is to get you better fast, but let's be realistic. It's not going to happen in 1 month.
Right. It's a process. And
yep.
For everybody, I get that. And that's what you're doing. You're looking at their overall being, where everybody is so individualized. So tell me, so you work with people all over the world?
Yep.
And that's interesting. You're on different time zones all the time and working with people in different countries.
It gets interesting in Australia because sometimes they're in a different day. So, and then we have the challenge of medications and testing in different countries as well.
Right.
UK and Australia are doable. I mean, sometimes it's a challenge, and we have to go through like the private medical system instead of the public, I guess it would be called. But no, it's doable. I love working with people in other countries.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So is there anything, did we leave anything out here that you can share with anybody that might have other questions about the thyroid and optimizing it?
Well, one of the big things are the symptoms. So a lot of people don't realize some of the symptoms that they're currently experiencing could be tied back to the thyroid. So we have to, do a little biology and say, the thyroid is the master gland. It is the master gland. It controls your entire body. It controls every system. You have T3 receptor sites. We said earlier that T3 is the active thyroid hormone. You have T3 receptor sites on your brain. So that is why people will experience anxiety, depression, brain fog, confusion. They'll think that they have early Alzheimer's because they cannot find words. They're struggling to find words. So T3 receptor sites on every organ, every tissue, every cell of your body. And when we're looking at the symptoms, there are some, there are the big ones that we said: the weight gain, the inability to lose weight, the extreme fatigue, hair loss, thinning of the eyebrows, dry skin, anxiety, depression, insomnia. But then there's those different ones, like those ones that thyroid wouldn't come to mind right in the beginning. But when you start tying and piecing the pieces of the puzzle together, it's like, oh yeah, well, guess what? That's thyroid. Frozen shoulder, muscle pain, joint pain, higher allergic reactions. So higher increased histamine reactions, urticaria, hives. There's symptoms related to the thyroid that people are sometimes surprised. They go, oh my gosh, that got better. How about that? Like, yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, we fix your thyroid, we fix your entire body, top to bottom.
Interesting. And then bring the part about the bread and wine. Explain that a little bit.
So if you've listened to me, or even if you've listened to me in these last 20 minutes, you know that I'm pretty straightforward, right? So I will give you tough love. I will tell it to you like it is. So I came up with that because two reasons. Number one, if you remember years ago, Oprah Winfrey had a commercial. She goes, I love bread. I'm going to eat bread every day. And it's like, well, I got news for you, chick. If you got Hashimoto's, which I think she does have now, I think I saw somewhere that Oprah has Hashi, and she needs to probably call me because I can totally fix her and get off that like up and down weight loss roller coaster she's been on for 40 years.
That's a good idea. Okay, go on. I cut you off there. Sorry.
Honestly, right? So, obviously she was doing that for like, Weight Watchers or whatever commercial it was. But the reality is, if you have Hashimoto's, you can't eat bread. You can't eat gluten. Gluten will trigger an autoimmune attack. So with Hashimoto's, like we said, it's autoimmune based, meaning you have these little soldiers, and these little soldiers like to go up and beat up your thyroid, like literally beat the heck out of your thyroid to where it doesn't work very well. If I beat you up all day long, you're not going to be very efficient at your job. So your thyroid starts to not work so well, not produce the thyroid hormones that we need. Every time you eat gluten, those little soldiers are going to go out and beat it up. So I use that. You're not going to eat bread every day. And then the wine peas are from the ladies who go, but I like my wine. I just need to have a glass of wine every night. Well, if you're struggling with weight and you're taking in alcohol is seen as almost like a foreign substance by the body, to where the body will say, hey, the carbs, the protein, and that fat that's on the body, we're not going to deal with that right now. We're not going to burn fat. We're not going to deal with the food. We're going to deal with this alcohol because we need to process it. We need to get rid of it. It's not good in the system. So when you have a glass of wine every single night, and I don't care what the resveratrol studies say, when you have a glass of wine every single night and you're trying to lose weight, is going to work against you. Now, once we have you optimized, I still wouldn't do it every night. Once we have you optimized, you'll be able to get away with it a little bit more often. But right now, if you're looking sideways at a brownie and gaining weight, that's that's a huge red flag, folks. Huge red flag that there's something metabolic going on that we need to address. And you're not going to be very successful if you're taking in alcohol every day.
Good. That's perfect. And I love all your analogies. They're great.
Try. I want to make it understandable. So yeah, I crack the whip, but I also give some love. So
I love it. I love it. It's perfect. And you got to add a little humor into all of this, because if you don't, then it gets a little too heavy on anybody. So I love how you approach it. So anything else you want to add to this conversation? And at the end, I will definitely put your website so people can get in touch with you as well.
Yeah. So we do discovery calls. So you actually book if you're interested in just finding out more, you book a discovery call. I do have a little application just to figure out if we're right to work together. I want the motivated people that really want to get well. I think we all do as practitioners. We want to work with those people that really want to get better. And so, yeah, you can book a discovery call with me. I would say the thing that I would leave with your listeners is to have hope. Because I think when you're struggling with something so long, no matter what the health issue is, it doesn't have to be thyroid, any kind of health issue that you are struggling with, and you're frustrated and you're not getting answers from the multitude of various practitioners you're seeing, you really start to get down. I mean, it drags you down mentally. It really starts to affect you as a person. And that's where you have to have hope that there is an answer. I promise you there is. I went through 6 doctors until I found mine. I spoke with a colleague yesterday who saw 48. I said 48. She goes, 48 different specialists, doctors, practitioners, even functional practitioners. Sometimes we'll drop the ball if you're a thyroid patient. So you have to really find somebody that specializes in that area, because you don't want to go through 48. That's a lot. That's just, that's a story in and of itself. But yeah, have hope and keep going and invest in yourself, invest time to find the right person. Don't just jump from doctor to doctor, crossing your fingers, because I guarantee you're wasting more time and money doing that than just finding a specialist. But you gotta start with hope.
Hope, and you're going from medication to medication to medication instead of figuring out the root cause, which is always back to the root cause.
Yep.
And I see a book behind you with the word hope on it. My eyes kept going to that.
Yeah. I have the little sign with hope. Yep. I always have that up.
Sign? I thought it was a book. Okay.
Oh yeah. This is my little sign, my little hope sign.
Yeah. What does it say underneath it?
Says, hope is the anchor for the soul.
So true. So true. A perfect way to end a wonderful conversation and a fabulous podcast with you, Amie. And I look forward to connecting with you again.
Absolutely.
Follow up and do some more of these, and hopefully someday we'll meet in person. You never know.
Yeah, you're not far. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. It has been an absolute pleasure.
You are welcome, and thank you. And we will chat very soon.